My lowest rated book of the year.
How the fuck do you rate a book like that? Human beings do way worse things to each other than any monster could.
5 stars, baby.
I just wanted some escapism. Don't come for me. Guys, it's reading vlog time. I have been in quite a reading slump. What feels like all year, you know? I am not a reader who reads 20 books a month. That is just never going to happen. But I would like to get back up to the point where I'm reading 10. You know, I'm not going to really tell you about the books that, like, I'm not pre-picking them. I'm a mood reader. I'm embracing my mood reading personality because picking out books for a vlog does not work for me. Okay, I've learned this. So this is going to be on the fly. I'm going to be following where my heart takes me on my bookshelves, and you're going to be coming along too. But I have picked the first one and I've just started it. And this one was picked by my husband. If you've watched a few of my videos before, you'll know we play a little reading game sometimes, especially when I'm in a slump, where he'll go bookcase number 1, bookshelf 2, book 20. And so I go and pick that and I have to read it. It's a vow I made on our wedding day that I'll always pick the books he chooses. That's a fat lie. That is not true. However, I do always read the books he chooses. And what he fell upon was something that I never would have picked, is The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyne. This is quite a choice for the first one in a reading vlog. However, this is only 200 pages. He picked it, so I'm reading it. I thought that could be a good one to start with anyway for this vlog. And then after this one, it's all my choice for the rest of the week. I don't know what I'm going to pick. I'm not even going to talk about books because I'm just going to enjoy reading this, and I'll give my thoughts as we go through this vlog. So come along with me for a week of reading.
Not a flattering angle. I am fully aware of that, but I have just had a shower. I have had a cortisone injection in my right shoulder. The anesthetic I don't think worked. So my arm is so heavy, so I had to have an early shower so I could wash my hair before the anesthetic wears off. And now I'm exhausted, but I wanted to let you know I am halfway through The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Obviously, this isn't a long book. It's like 212 pages. I'm only going to hold it for a sec because my arm, but I will put up an overlay. And I am enjoying it. I know that it's not a youth novel. I mean, young adults could read this 100%. It's not written for kids, but it is about a kid. Bruno, you know, you're following Bruno. His family have moved from Berlin. And obviously we've got all this Nazi stuff happening around him, but he's a 9-year-old boy. So it's like we're seeing it through his eyes. And I really like Bruno as a character. He's becoming self-aware. So I think this is definitely a loss of innocence story. And his father's obviously someone very powerful within Nazi Germany. So I'm sure this is gonna get emotional, you know. I'm an emotional gal. So I'm sure that I'm gonna, especially while I'm weak, it's gonna kick me while I'm down. So I'm gonna try lock in and finish this. But right now I am enjoying it. It is very simplistic, the writing style, but obviously that is a stylistic choice given the character. It's not in first person, it's in third person. It's still from Bruno's point of view, you know. You can definitely clearly feel that and get that from it. So I'm quite enjoying that. And I didn't think I was liking it in the first like 30 pages. I was like, this isn't doing anything for me. But now he's got a charm to him, and he's such a smart little kid that I know that, like, and he's kind. I can feel there's moments of this where it's like he's so much kinder to the house staff than his family probably are. Like, so I just know it's going to hurt, you know what I mean? Because I'm like setting me up for something to dampen that innocence and that gentleness of a 9-year-old boy who hasn't learned the harsh reality of the world around him. So this is going to be fun. Anyway, I just wanted to give you a little update, and I will check back in with you when I've finished the book. I just figured out he's reading a plaque on a bench. And like they've been calling the house they've moved to Out With. Like the kids just, again, they hear things, you know how kids mess up. You hear things wrong or in your childlike mind. And then he's finally exploring the land they're living on. And he's reading the plaque. Presented on the occasion of the opening of, he hesitated, Out with Camp. He continued, stumbling over the name as usual. I'm so dumb. Auschwitz. Out with. So, like, the childlike mind, they've called it out with. Oh, this is so painful already. Why does my husband pick these sorts of books for me? Anyway, just thoughts. I'm dumb. My brain is not working. But I thought that was good. I'm enjoying this. It's good.
I had a pretty rough night's sleep because of my shoulder. So I'm feeling like I've been hit by a bus this morning. But I'm like, is that also because I read frickin' Boy in the Striped Pajamas? That was a horror novel. You know? I knew it. Like, I should have been filming my reaction, but it was like 9 p.m. And so my husband was in bed as well. So I didn't want to just like film me because I just knew. And then the ending, I'm so late to the party with some of these books because I don't read historical fiction very often, especially centered around World War II and the Holocaust. I, rightly so, find it very horrifying and confronting, but I don't feel like that's a reason I shouldn't read it. That is a privileged stance. And even these historical novels, of course, have truth in them, and that's what makes them so horrifying. Like, yes, I cried. It just hit me so suddenly. Like, I had like 5 pages left, and I was like, where the fuck is this going? Next minute, he's Bruno. I can't even say. Anyway, lifting to have my coffee sore. I apologise for my ugly mug. I look a bit rough this morning. So I'm going to gulp down my coffee. I have my physio coming here at 10:30, a mobile physio, which is a great thing. But I don't think I can really move my arm. I can't lift it up, even to drink my coffee. So more of a consultation. And then I'm just going to chill, come back to bed, to be honest. Try not to lift my arm for the rest of the day. And pick my next book. And I will talk to you about that next one when I get there. But I just wanted to give you a reading update that I have successfully completed book number 1 for my little challenge this week to get me through till next week. And also just help with my reading slump. Like I think I've mentioned in maybe my May reading wrap up. I've just been slumpy as hell, this year. It's been consistent. I'll say that. Like I haven't skipped a month of reading, but it's just felt slow. However, the quality's been way better than last year. So I feel like I'm picking better books for myself. And so my average rating for this year is sitting at like 4 or something. And I'm thinking that's quite high. Like, I don't give out 5-star ratings very often. Also, I have no idea how I'm going to rate The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Like, how the fuck do you rate a book like that? I did end up giving The Book Thief, for example. I gave that 5 stars, but it took me like 3 months to be able to rate it. And it feels kind of wrong to rate them. Do you know what I mean? Are you like that with those sorts of books? Like you feel a bit like dirty for rating it, but I loved the way it was written. I love that it was a point of view of a 9-year-old, 10-year-old boy without it being in first person. So, and like I said, I loved the use of like the way the childlike mind will keep it safe from the adult world around it and like out with instead of Auschwitz. And I liked that when other people corrected him, even though, again, it's in third person, but when other people corrected him with his pronunciation for these adult words, these big words, it was never written down. Like the author deliberately left it out. So you're filling it in. It's plainly obvious like where the setting is and what's going on around him and like what his father's work is. And Hitler is even in the book. And like the way he's described by a little boy as being a tiny man and like he could feel the energy of this fucking dickhead, Bruno called him the Fury. That was another one. And again, that got corrected, but even when it's corrected, it's not written. And it's because, we're reading this as adults, and so and I like that it's never actually put into words the correct spelling and pronunciation because you're living it through Bruno's mind as he pieces together some revelations and the stark contrast between Bruno and like the children on the other side and like the lives they're living, the families over there and him coming to terms with his privilege and his status and just because he's white and German and horrible. That's what I said to my husband. He's like, how was it? And I was like, horrible. And then I had to cry. And he went, oh no, so not a good book. I said, no, it was a good book, but I feel horrible. Like that ending, what a twist and what a way to do it. So I did enjoy it, but I'll sit on the rating again. Very hard to rate those sorts of novels, I always find. However, like I said, I've got a little bit on this morning, so I'm going to chill for the next 45 minutes before my physio gets here, but I'll pick a book after my appointment. Try and lift my coffee to my mouth so I can wake up and look a bit more human. But anyway, that is my update on my first book for this challenge. Hello, friends. I'm back for another reading update. I feel like I look slightly more human right now. I have picked my next book, sort of. I have my family book club on Saturday, which is 2 days away. So I was like, I haven't read the book. It's Thursday now. So it's Saturday afternoon. And it was sci-fi, our genre this month. So the way I organised this with my family, because I thought it would be a fun like bonding experience and for us to share our love of reading all together. And so it was like a silly, like one of those things you just say off the top of your head one day. And then I just did it. I was like, if I don't put it into motion right now, it's not going to happen. But everyone's gotten really on board. It was really fun. I'll insert some pictures from the first one. Like I made cupcakes because my theme was horror. We read Dark Matter by Michelle Paber. And yeah, I made like all this stuff themed. I gave everyone goodie bags with lots of like stickers, spooky stickers, tabs, hot chocolate because we're in winter at the moment. And a reading tracker log. I got like one of these. This is mine. So we rate them during our book club meetings. So cute. So I gave everyone one of those. Everyone also got like bookmarks that I gave them. I themed them for everybody individually. Cute. Book girlies, book lovers club in different formats. Cute. Yeah, anyway. And I gave everyone highlighters as well. These really good ones. Yeah, they're so good. And pens, book pens as well, so they can write their rating. But like I also themed, because I'm a cat person and so many of my family are too, everyone for their goodie bag was also made them like a cat meme photo that I thought suited them. I thought it was funny anyway, you know, like stupid things like this instead of a name. It's so dumb. But wholesome family activities. So that was really fun. So that was end of May, our first one. And so we're about to do our second one monthly, which is nice. I'm so happy that like they all got into it. I just didn't know, like obviously people cancel and things happen, but everyone read the book, everyone pretty much. There was a few that didn't read the first book. But because I organized it, like I came up with some ways that we can discuss. Like one of my fun things, I might take you along for it as part of this vlog, so you're in my week, but begin with like one sentence of our experience reading the book and our star rating without explanation. But then we do a star rating round the grounds at the end to see if anyone's opinion changed after discussions. You might have enjoyed it more than you actually think you did, or the opposite, you know what I mean? So anyway, but I'm leaving it up to one of my brothers is hosting this one. So he's got to come up with the discussion questions this time. So it's on them to host it. But we're also celebrating my dad's birthday at the same time. So there's a little bit going on. Anyway, so when at the end of the night on the first book club, and we'll do it again each time, is I put everyone's name in a hat and pull out the name for the next person to host. So everyone gets a turn. They pick a genre that we haven't read yet. They pick 2 books. They also haven't read the book. They can't have read the book. They pick 2 books in that genre. They put it in our group chat with synopsis and book cover, so we know exactly what we're looking for. And then we take a vote and a poll, and the winning book is the one we read. And then we set a date, you know? So anyway, it's so nerdy and fun. So Callum, my brother, he was second, and he picked sci-fi as his genre. And the book that got voted on is Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke. And I love this cover, this edition. Look at that. Stunning. Just the short synopsis that he sent through really appealed to me. I'll read it to you because it's really short. The overlords appeared suddenly over every city, intellectually, technologically, and militarily superior to humankind. Benevolent, they made few demands. Unify Earth, eliminate poverty, end war. With a little rebellion at first, mankind agreed and a golden age began. But at what cost? So, again, that doesn't really tell us much, does it? Okay, so this is mid-century.
Be interesting to see what, especially in the 50s, what they thought was going to happen. I feel like this will also have a lot to discuss. I think it's a good book club pick, you know? So that, even though I'm a mood reader and I did say this was mood reading, I do have to read this book and I want to read this book. I'm very keen on it. But I thought I would just, yes, let you know that this is my next pick. And it is 200 pages, 250 pages, give or take. So I feel like I can get through that pretty fast. Like it's not, doesn't feel like it's going to be an arduous read. So I'm very excited. I don't know anything about it. It's not really a reading update, but I just want to let you know the plan ahead for today, now that I feel a bit more human and can continue reading now that my appointment's done for the day. Great. Anyway, I'll see you when I have a little bit to say on Childhood's End. Bye. Morning. I have been a bit slack and I haven't updated you. I read Childhood's End very quickly because I had to finish it for book club. So I forgot to update you because I was just like trying to smash it out. And I do have some thoughts about it. We had our book club yesterday. I didn't get to do any filming. I'm so sorry. I lied. I didn't take you along for that at all. I love that this is becoming a thing. It got very passionate and heated in some times, but I think that's what like science fiction books are good for. And this was a good choice for a book club because there's plenty we can talk, especially with our current like minds, modern viewpoints, you know. Childhood's End for me is actually probably my lowest rated book of the year. I think I stood on 2 stars in the end. I think it was trying to be so many different things and it felt very loose and all over the place. I didn't really love the way it was written. There was no real character development. I felt nothing. But yeah, there was no character depth at all. And all the characters had the same voice. Like, I totally understand. This was written in the 50s. Like, technology is one thing to predict and trying to come up with, and we can forgive that a little bit. But what's harder is like when an author doesn't attempt to change the language used. Really hard to predict. So I am fully aware that I am reading this in my 2026 mind, but I just didn't like the way that everyone spoke the same. There was no nuance or change in the characters. They all had the same voice and character. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like no one was different. It felt like it was just the author coming through. He was using these characters to get his own opinions across. Do you know what I mean? I actually enjoyed the first part. It could have been fleshed out more. I would have enjoyed to see like how the overlords actually landed on Earth. Like, that's what my dad brought up in book club. Like, and I agree with him that it was like we should have had a little bit more of that, like their arrival to Earth. But I really enjoyed the overlord, the supervisor, Karelin, I think his character name was, and the United Nations Secretary Stormgren, and I liked their relationship. There was humor and there was respect, mutual respect, and you kind of got that impression they were both working for someone above them, just doing their jobs. And so, yeah, there was this nice respect between them when they would meet. And I really enjoyed those scenes. Like, that could have been so much more fleshed out. And then, like, the mystery, like, thriller-loving part of me loved when Stormgren got kidnapped by the Freedom League. But then that just kind of went nowhere and there was no explanation. So there was a lot of disjointed storylines and plot holes and stuff that, like, the most interesting parts of the novel were the parts that he didn't develop. Middle section was very clunky and naff. I just think it wasn't for me. There's also that part of me that I'm not trying to shit on Arthur C. Clarke as an author because obviously he's quite renowned in science fiction. And so this could have just been reader error, not author error. And also that it's very hard, like, reading these sorts of books that are kind of set around our current time because there's so many inaccuracies, but that doesn't really bother me. Like, I suppose a lot of it really was the dialogue and the way people's relationships were with each other and how they spoke and just human side of it was very unrealistic. I made notes. Give me a sec. One of the things that I did really like was the reveal of how the overlords looked. I actually liked that. I won't say what they looked like in case you decide to read this book. But there was so much of this novel that I couldn't absorb. My brain couldn't hack it. I would read 2 pages but be so deathly aware that my eyes were just reading words. It wasn't that I was distracted. It was that literally they were not going in my brain. And it just felt like there was so much exposition that was not needed, and it was like he just really liked the sound of his own voice. It was so interesting. Like, there was so many things fleshed out that didn't need it, and the things that actually needed some development, he decided to discard. So character development or relationships or language or anything, and he just left that out. Anyway, there were some moments that I did enjoy and some quotes that I thought were really good, but overall this just is not a book for me, so I gave it 2 stars, and again, it's my lowest rated book of the year so far. But as you can imagine, it brought up a lot of great discussions, especially around like human nature and how we would deal with a utopian society, and what would happen to us if all we had was time to do what we wanted to do. Would people become lazy? Would they actually do the things that they always wanted to do, or would we just become content and stop using our brains? It's an interesting dilemma and an interesting point of discussion. So I think it was a really good choice for book club. I did say at the start of book club that if it weren't a choice for this, then I would have DNF'd the book. Outside of this, I am all for DNFing. Like, I think it's a really important thing. There are too many good books out there that are waiting for you to read. Like, don't force yourself to read a book you don't enjoy. But because it was book club, I would like to be fully informed during the discussion, and so I did finish it. But it is a book I could have easily DNF'd, especially getting to the end, and I was like, I got nothing from that. I couldn't even tell you how it ended. I had to go look at reviews and look up spoilers because I was like, literally 2 minutes later, it was out my brain. So I just know it wasn't for me. It just didn't work in my mind. And yeah, but I won't DNF a book club book. It's my one rule. Any other time, I would have just put it away and not bothered. So that's something I will say about it. Now I am going to just mooch a little bit this morning. I've just finished my coffee, but I'm feeling very headachy and sore still. I'm sure you're sick of hearing about how sore I am. But then I'm going to pick my next book, and I'm going to try smash out another one, and I'll come back to you when I have decided what I'm going to read next. My next pick is The Gathering by CJ Tudor. I have heard really good things about this. I'm in the mood for something chilling. So I feel like this has got a good balance of everything. I don't know much about it apart from that it's set in Alaska and it's a town that has very few people, like 673 is the population. A boy has been found murdered, and the people of this town are blaming the vampire colony that lives in the mountains, and the snow is falling, it's icy cold, and we've got a detective who comes in from out of town and she's trying to figure it out and piece it together. So I don't know, this one just had something that I thought could be really fun to get into. So I have just started this. It started really well. It's just what I needed. So I'll update you as I go. I have been so slack in this vlog. I get so into books that talking about them becomes almost difficult while I'm reading them. Like, I'm better at doing a review afterwards, but I'm trying to improve on that. I thought I'd give you a reading update. Also, I am on the floor near my bed because I don't know if you can see Violet here. My God. Oh my Lord. Too cute. Anyway, she's very happy. I will be joining soon. I've got both cats on the bed at the moment, which is a rare thing, but it doesn't happen very often. Right now, I'm going to have a shower, get cozy, join my cats, and I'm going to continue reading The Gathering by CJ Tudor. I am about 60% of the way through now, and I'm loving it. Oh my gosh. I read The Chalk Man by CJ Tudor like 5 or 6 years ago. I think it was just after COVID or during COVID, and I remember really enjoying it. Like, it was great, and I don't know why I haven't read another one of hers since. So I picked up The Gathering after seeing quite a few reviews and things online. It felt like a chiller. You know, I needed not just a thriller, but I needed a chiller, especially after Childhood's End. I think I just wanted something a little bit more fast-paced, or not fast-paced, but something like that was just going to grip me, and this has. I'm loving it. This is set in Dead Heart, Alaska, which is already great. Like, the setting is just propulsive. The tension and the vibes, oh, it's so thick and I love it. Anyway, yes, set in this small town of like
the population's like 670 people. And one day, a teenage boy is found with his throat slashed open, drained of blood, but it's very reminiscent of a crime that happened 25 years prior to another teenage boy in this town. We have Barbara Atkins, who is a detective, but also like a vampire anthropologist. So she's a doctor in anthropology, specializing in vampire law and vampire. So cool. And she's a detective as well. So she gets sent out to Dead Heart after this recent murder because she's got to determine if like it was actually a vampire or if there was something else going on, because the town want to have a cull of the nearby colony of vampires because they're all up in arms about how like this monster has killed a kid in their town. So without her approval, the cull can't happen. That's all I'm really going to tell you, because that's all I really knew was like, yeah, that she had to go to this town. I did know stuff about the cull, but it's not really a spoiler. It's a big part of it, so it's not spoiling anything. This has got like the air of kind of like True Blood vibes, you know, with them living side by side. They're a part of society. You know, there's laws to protect vampires and their colonies, trying to attempt to live in harmony, which doesn't work, as you can imagine. Police procedural kind of thing to it as well, which I really enjoy, and that's keeping the momentum and the pace going. I really enjoy all aspects of it, actually. Like, Barbara's a great detective, a really good character. I really enjoy her. I'm loving the tension in the town and between everyone. Like I said, you could cut it with a knife. And I'm really enjoying our introduction to the vampires and how this colony works. And that, like, the head of this colony, she's, like, centuries and centuries old, but she looks like a 9 or 10-year-old girl, you know? And the way she speaks, like, it's so... like, it would be such a great TV show. The way that she speaks like an adult, like a very crass, angry adult would. But she looks like a beautiful little 9-year-old girl, and she's the oldest in the colony of vampires. There is a lot going on. First 100 or so pages, like, I was finding it a little bit difficult to remember all the characters. Like, a lot of characters were kind of introduced quite quickly. I don't know, all the names were quite similar, so I was like trying to remember who was who, but then again, I have not been in the best headspace, so I was like, maybe it's a me problem. Again, reader error, not author error. That is my main message, is that often it is reader error, not author error. Yeah, I'm just loving the vibes. So really enjoying that. I'm getting really, you know, it's going to be a highly rated book. If it doesn't take a dip, could we get a 5-star book in this vlog? That would be ideal, wouldn't it? Maybe not. But the setting is so great, and it's like now snowing. It's snowing in where I'm up to it in the novel. And we're just getting that interesting layer of some things, some criminal activities people are doing, certain characters are doing in relation to vampires, and like, it would absolutely be a thing fucking humans would do. You know? Anyway, I don't know where the hell this is going. I have no desire to guess anything. There might not even be a twist or a thing. And I am just happy to be along for the ride because I am thoroughly enjoying it. And I'm very interested to find out if it was a vampire killing or human. I don't know. I suspect it was. Shall I take a guess? It was probably human, because human beings do way worse things to each other than any monster could. Anyway, so those are my current thoughts on The Gathering, that it is going in a very cool direction. And I had some book mail arrive, which I forgot to talk to you about. A new release, which I almost picked up instead of The Gathering. It's Andrea Mara's new book, Such a Nice Girl. I love this pretty colour. This is a new release. I don't know much about it. It's been getting good reviews. Andrea Mara always does. I haven't read an Andrea Mara book before. I do have another one on my bookshelf called All Her Fault, which got made into a TV series and was very good, apparently. So I don't know which one I'll read next, but that was a new release that arrived on my doorstep, so I'm very excited for that. I also had recently another sci-fi. This one is When We Were Real by Daryl Gregory. So pretty. This was actually one, if you watched my Sydney vlog back in January, that I had picked up while I was in store, but I couldn't bring myself to part with like $65 for a 350-page novel. So I didn't purchase it then, and I purchased it now instead. But I'm not going to go through that synopsis because it's a little bit, it is like long, is quite lengthy. I'm very excited to read it. I think I need a good, emotional, thought-provoking, comfy, cozy sci-fi, and I hope that will be what it is. Anyway, that is my book and reading update for you for now. I will probably check in with you when I have finished The Gathering. I'm sure I will. You know me, I like to yap. Even right now, giving you fucking nothing, I'm still yapping. So anyway, I'm going to go get cozy, join my cats, and continue reading. Just had a shower. Washing my hair is a bit of a mission at the moment, so I have to do it during the day. It also doesn't dry very quickly because I've got a lot of it. So anyway, I finished The Gathering last night, and friends, we got a 5-star. I'm so happy. 5 stars, baby. It was so good. I have slept on it. I literally couldn't fault it. There was things that I didn't see coming, character moments that just hit the spots, like just reveals done at just the perfect times throughout. I also just think it was so clever. It was such a unique thing. I messaged my mum about it and I was like, this is a police procedural vampire horror. Like, that's the best way I can describe this book. And somehow it balanced the two just perfectly. It hit all the right spots for me. I loved, there wasn't a moment that it actually dipped, not at all. Like, it's over 400 pages, so a little on the lengthier side than some of the other novels I've been reading lately, but it felt shorter than some of them, you know, so I just loved it. I loved the writing. I thought there was a lot of wit and humour in it, and I just think Barbara Atkins as a detective, the vampire doc, was such an awesome character. Having an older female detective who isn't brash and nasty, I don't know how to explain it, like, she just was such a real person with her own horrible storyline, her own horrible past, and the way that it all just like came to in the most delectable, delicious, devious way. All the D words just then. I loved it. I thought the vampire colony was really fleshed out and really interesting. Like, there wasn't the two storylines and the two lots of people, like the Dead Heart town of humans and then the vampire colony in the mountains. You weren't more interested in one than the other. Like, it was just the perfect balance, you know? Sorry, my towel's getting heavy. 2 seconds. It's just feeling a bit rough. But I am committed to this reading vlog, so you're getting every aspect of me. If you're still here, then I am so appreciative of you, and I hope you've enjoyed so far. Anyway, there was so much to enjoy. It just had such a great atmosphere, and the tension between Detective Atkins and the actual townfolk in Dead Heart was palpable, and delicious and devious. I just fucking ate it up. I could have like read so much more. It could have gone on, but it was just perfect. It was just the perfect amount. And the mystery of it, like, it had that police procedural feeling and mystery about it, about these cases that came together, but the characters, oh my God, I can't even tell you about it without spoiling it. But all I'll say is that it's a 5-star book. And for me, it just had all the elements I love: cold cases, police procedural, horror, vampire gore. Oh my God, just everything. Twists and turns, great writing, atmosphere, cold. Oh, yummy, 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 yummy. Those are my final thoughts for now anyway. I am going to go pick another book. I'm going to sort myself out a little bit, fix this mane, and yeah, see what I'm in the mood for. This is becoming a little bit of a longer week. It's not a week anymore. I failed my own thing. This is like a 2-week vlog, realistic reading vlog with me. I realized I read like a historical fiction with The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Then I read sci-fi classic with Childhood's End, and now I've read like a vampire horror thriller. So who knows what I'll pick next? Mood reading at its finest. That's what this is. This is a perfect example of a mood reader in its natural habitat. So stick around to see what my 4th book for this reading vlog will be.
I realised I forgot to tell you that I had picked a new book and I've already finished it. So I picked up Tradwife by T.C. Parker. I didn't actually intend on reading this, but again, mood reader edition reading vlog. And I read it on my Kindle because I've been reading physical books and that's quite painful still when I read for hours with my shoulder. So I was like, I can hold a Kindle with my left hand and I can roll on my side, you know? So that was fun. I read it in about a day. Was drawn in by this amazing cover. I love the retro pin-up style, the heart, like it has a vibe to it. And I feel like that vibe is translated really nicely into what T.C. Parker actually did with the novel. What I will say is for a 240-page book and on Kindle, this read quite slow and was very dense. It felt, I think because intentionally so, it reads very much like a nonfiction true crime expose on the Tradwife movement, and the author uses like a really bloody, grotesque massacre that happens in this Tradwife cult, essentially, as kind of the backdrop for the novel. So I do read and consume true crime content. I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. Predominantly, I don't watch a lot of documentaries anymore, but I do listen to a lot of podcasts. And I feel like this probably would have been better for me if I had consumed it as an audiobook, because it felt so much like a podcast and true crime, because the formatting is all through interviews with the families of the victims of this massacre, as we're trying to piece together like how they all came to the Heart of Solomon, which is this community, this Tradwife community that was established in the UK. And so we're piecing together like who they were as couples. So it's by couple, which is quite fun. But the author in the novel, Gina, who's investigating all these people, she is interviewing either family members or friends or exes, you know, like to kind of get some sort of knowledge about who these people were. And that worked, but would have worked better if I was listening to it. Do you know what I mean? If you're a true crime podcast listener, then you'll absolutely get what I mean. I've written quite a few notes, so bear with me. The reason I picked this one up is because it felt as if it was doing something a little bit different to the endless number of Tradwife books that are out there at the moment. For instance, I have no desire to pick up Yesteryear. It's just not for me. I don't think I really want to read that book. I have thought about like Tradwife by Saratoga Schaefer as another book, because horror is my favorite genre. So I was like, I could read that. But again, because it's so talked about at the moment and in my face, I wanted to pick a Tradwife novel that maybe others weren't talking about as much. And so, yeah, I chose this one. And I'm glad I did. So I've kind of spoken about how like it was very much that true crime-esque format, and so probably would have been really good as an audiobook. So I would recommend, if you want to read this, it sounds like your kind of thing, then please read it on audio. I haven't really spoken about the plot, but basically all it is this Tradwife traditional values community was established in the UK, Heart of Solomon. There was only 12 couples that lived there, and in 2019, a brutal massacre happened. 3 couples, 6 people were found. They were found chopped up, disgustingly murdered. However, their actual bodies were not found. So it was pieces of each of them that had some sort of symbolic meaning as well for each person, which we learn about throughout the course of the novel. So I didn't mind that. Like I said, I read horror, so I'm like, that body horror and awful crimes are not something that I have it doesn't trigger me. I think because of the way it was written, and I wasn't fully aware that it was written in such a non-fiction style, investigative journalist style, I think it felt so dense. For that first 100 or so pages, it literally felt like it was an essay on the Tradwife movement and why it's so prevalent in today's society and how it became so, and like anyway, so it was interesting because I didn't know as much about it, so I did feel like I was learning a lot, but then it did feel like kind of like, I'm just reading this for my criminology degree. You know what I mean? Unsolved mystery being cracked wide open. It doesn't have that until later on. So most of this novel is about the couples that were murdered and their backstories and how they
came to be at this compound, essentially. I appreciated that T.C. Parker was like unabashed in the way she wrote the crimes, the gruesomeness of this. It didn't shy away from how violent, abusive, like insidious these alt-right, ultra-conservative, anti-feminist communities and ideologies can be. I think it goes to the extreme, obviously, for a purpose, to make a statement. Each person in this community, like they're the caricature, the worst of the worst of those sorts of, far right conservative values. So obviously that, anyway, you know what I mean? Like, it's like she deliberately wrote them all to be the worst of the worst. So if you're after like a fast-paced, grisly crime horror, this doesn't really hit that spot. But what it will do is, like, if you're a character-driven person, it feels like a character study, and gives you so much more of kind of like the why and how people become certain ways, you know? And I also think if you're a true crime aficionado who loves podcasts of this nature, then you'll probably really dig this on audiobook. I did enjoy reading it as well, but I just am bummed I didn't switch the audiobook. But I spent $5 on this Kindle edition, so I was going to bloody well read it. Definitely heed the content warnings for this one. They are at the beginning of the book. They're not going to spoil anything, and I'm not here to spoil anything either. I'm not someone who really goes in for content warnings. I think they're important to have in the book because if I don't need them, then it doesn't affect me if they're there. You know what I mean? They're there for other people. So I have no qualms about content warnings being at the start or back of books, whatever you need. But I would definitely go in with caution. Even for me, there were moments in this with a particular couple, the Coopers, Becky and Brendan, I think it was, that was so reminiscent of some of the most horrendous criminals that I've ever studied or know about. And it just tipped over a little bit too far into the real world. And I couldn't get out of that. Like, it was so too close to some crimes that happened. Like, think of the Rosemary and Fred Wests and those sorts of horror, like, they're the ones that really get under my skin, and rightfully so. I felt very disturbed reading it, and I didn't really need it in such explicit detail, some of the crimes and things they did. Like, I'm not trying to spoil it, but I think it's important because even for me, it was like a step too far and like just felt a little bit unnecessary to get the point across. We could have had the point across without the graphicness of the sexual violence, if you know what I mean. And I think that's just me anyway. These sorts of criminals and these sorts of crimes to me are the worst and the most. They are intriguing into why and how they become like that, but I just can't. When I'm reading fiction still, even horror, even these, I'm still reading for escapism. So when it was walking on that tightrope and just fell and was like, oh, okay, we're in the real world now. And so it didn't quite land for me, that sort of stuff. It did make the ending and the massacre and all sorts of things very satisfying. Like, I will say the way it all tied up at the end was very neat and obviously very over the top and unrealistic, but you are like, fuck yeah, thank God. You know what I mean? I think because it emulated that nonfiction, true crime, investigative journalist writing style so well, and so that's props to T.C. Parker because it was so clearly a choice made, and it worked because it made me go, oh, I'm just reading about like, some of these awful criminals, and I don't really want to be doing that when I'm trying to relax and heal, and like, you know what I mean? So again, maybe it's just timing for me. So yes, anyway, on that rant, just be mindful that it's not just obviously the graphic violence and the murders. There is also, some pretty nasty sexual violence. The worst of the worst, in my opinion. But obviously this kind of novel, you're going in for that. So it's not that I was unaware, it's just that it felt so real. And I hope that's the point I'm getting across, is because it is written so deliberately in this style and format that it can tip over a little bit into real life. And I just wanted some escapism. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Is that coming across? I'm not shitting on this because it was also my own fault. I didn't realise it was, formatted this way. Overall thoughts is that this was a very dark, grisly, complicated feminist horror done really well. It was delivered in an interesting format. It was written well. enjoyed her prose. I thought it was very intellectual and very intelligent. There was even footnotes because it's like you're reading like her manuscript, her first draft. This Gina, this journalist, and she goes missing as well in the midst of it. So you've got so many little mysteries. It's like a mystery within a mystery. There's all this cool stuff going on. So you do want to keep reading. And for that, I did enjoy it. And I read it quickly. So I have been toying overnight about what to rate this novel because it's a hard one to rate. I enjoyed it. I think it wasn't quite a 4-star read, but it wasn't like a 3. So I gave it 3.75. I know it's very particular, but I think given what I've told you, like it kind of makes sense why I've landed on that rating. Not badly written by any stretch of the imagination, but by my own fault. Again, reader error, not author error, because I wasn't aware of some of the content and how it was delivered. I don't know, I'm going in circles. So those are my thoughts on Tradwife by T.C. Parker. I think it has a lot to say. I think it was a more interesting way to do it. And it's not talked about. This novel isn't talked about. It's so overshadowed by the other Tradwife novels and Yesteryear and all these ones that are so in the media at the moment that, yeah, I think it deserves a little bit more hype if you're after like a feminist horror, delving into and learning about the Tradwife movement and the societal impacts that it's having in our day and age, especially with TikTok. And like we've got Tradwife influences and it just boggles my brain. So it goes against the whole traditional values thing. Anyway, it's an interesting dilemma, an interesting topic to talk about. So I can see why it is a trend in marketing and publishing at the moment. However, I don't think I need to read any more Tradwife novels for the time being. I have got many more that I would like to read on my shelf. So speaking of, I think that's 4 books for this reading vlog. I think we're going to read one more and then we can call it a day. This has been a bit of a mixed genre thing. Again, mood reading, that's what it does. Sometimes you just don't know what you feel like. So I'll actually take you along to pick one now. Let's head to the library. This is what we all know. So I don't know what I feel like. I obviously love my horrors, but I think after reading Tradwife, I might need something a little bit lighter. Do I have anything that fits that description? One of it is pretty dark shit, I'm not gonna lie. I have been thinking of reading The Other Side of Now by Paige Harbison. I love this. Look at this beautiful cover. I spent a lot of money because I wanted this cover specifically. A life-affirming trip. Oh my God. Big-hearted and funny, sharp observations and a stellar supporting cast that grounds the high concept and gives the book so much soul I challenge you not to cry at least 3 times. Captivating story of friendship, grief, and the roads not taken, leaving the enchanting world of Avalon behind already feels like a loss. Oh my God. So it's like this woman who is a TV star, pop star, hit TV show, and she's like in a relationship with Hollywood's latest heartthrob, Meg. It appears she has everything to everyone else. Okay, then she has like a mini little breakdown at her 30th birthday and then decides, okay, I need a change of scenery. And so she books a trip to Ireland where her and her best friend were always going to go or something like that. But when she gets there, it's like she's stepped into an alternate universe. Everyone recognizes her, and weirdly, the most weird part of it is her best friend is still alive but wants nothing to do with her and won't speak to her. So that's all I want to know. It sounds really good. Sounds definitely different from the other books I've been reading in this vlog, and feels like it could be a nice bookend to, yeah, this mood reading edition. I think I'm going to read that first one because the other one I thought of was The Collected Regrets of Clover by Mickey Brammer, and she's an Australian author. It's set in New York though, but she's like a death doula. She hears people's regrets, but she's got her own and all this stuff, and it's about her living her life again for herself. Oh, but I don't think I'm emotionally prepared for that sort of book. So I want to do another vlog with like books that I think will make me cry. And I think this one's top of the list, so I might save it. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with The Other Side of Now. Just as something a little bit lighter. Yeah, it feels like a nice way to end this fun little reading vlog and my time with you. Thank you so much if you're still here for the last book. I appreciate you. I know I've yapped your ears off and talked about my freaking shoulder nonstop, but I appreciate you very much, and I hope you'll stick around to hear my thoughts on this one. don't think I've ever looked better. I had a little care package arrive from my mother-in-law, which is where I got this little headband. It's quite a good look for me, and I've got a little collagen mask on at the moment because my skin with the medication I'm taking has just broken out. So I'm doing a little bit of I've exfoliated and I've put a collagen mask on, and my skin is like sucking it up. But I thought I'd show you this little care package because it's cute. Butter, caramel, pecan, cinnamon spice chocolates. Yummy. This beautiful essential oil. It smells so good. I've been putting this on my pressure point. It smells so good. So it's just a little mini one. Just what I needed. But like I said, the actual headband is my favourite. I obviously don't have my glasses on either, so I do look a little bit naked. Done my physio exercises for the day. I've had a shower. So I'm feeling a little bit sore, very tired. And I've got like 50 pages left of my book. I'm going to pour a wine and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my thoughts so far. Okay, I've got a little cheeky one. I think it's a Pinot Grigio. It's very light, a bit buttery as an aftertaste. Tangy. It's good. I'm not a wine connoisseur, but I do love a white wine. The Other Side of Now by Paige Harbison. I am really enjoying. I am really glad I picked this up. It's a great palate cleanser from the other novels that I've been reading in this reading vlog. I'm so glad it's lived up to my expectations that I had going in. I have heard really great things about it, usually from other book content creators who are mixed genre. So like I'm always a little bit wary because I am obviously just mainly a horror and thriller reader. I say that, but then I've been branching out a lot more lately. I love my sci-fi. I'm just not much of a fantasy reader. Don't come for me. I'm really glad I picked this up. It is very easy to read. It's scarily relatable. Like I have had moments a little bit spooky in that I go, is this about me? Like apart from the dead best friend thing, touch wood, oh my gosh, there's so much of this that I relate to because Meg, our main character, I say that, I am not a famous Hollywood LA actress. Maybe in my other life I am though, you see. I wish I was that. But that's the thing, that's the dilemma in this book is like, there's a version of me probably out there, if you believe in alternate realities, who got all the dreams by now that I have been working for and wanting. But she might be wanting my life. I don't know, I love thinking about it and it's written in a really cool way because it does make you think about your own life and ponder your own decisions and the different crossroads you've been down and the decisions you've made and which directions you've taken. And so, yeah, and also it was literally like New Year's Day 2020 and I got accepted into a musical theatre course in Ireland in Belfast. And I was going to go starting September 2020. And this had been like, I had been rejected by so many different acting schools and musical theatre schools because I'm not like a dancer. So they favour triple threats, of course, especially when you want to be like chorus or ensemble, like you've got to have it all. The roles that I always want in musical theatre are not triple threat characters, but that's really hard to do when you are bottom of the rung. Like you are not a sought after person. So anyway, I finally got in. I didn't get anywhere in Australia, but I got into somewhere. I was going to live in Ireland for 2 years studying musical theatre. And then obviously being 2020, the world shut down and I had to say no because it was like they couldn't hold my place and we didn't know. We were playing it month by month and I never ended up getting to go and I haven't been able to do it again. 6 years later, that was my like crossroads. If the world hadn't done that, I would have moved. I would have gone to the UK. I would have gone to Ireland. I would have realised that dream. And who knows what my career and what my life would have been. And so the fact that this book is like her going, like when she was 18 or 19, getting into an acting school in Ireland and deciding not to go because her best friend Amy didn't get in and they made a pact, like if one of us gets in and the other doesn't, then we won't go. And so she doesn't. In our timeline, she doesn't do that because Amy didn't get in. And so she stays, they stay in Florida, and then she does LA instead, and what happens is Amy dies. Not a spoiler, I promise. Amy dies in this reality, and yeah, 10 years later, it's like she's at her 30th birthday, had a breakdown because she's like, I'm not happy with my life. I've got all the riches and I've got all the success from acting, but it wasn't the acting I wanted to do, this whole thing. So she's like, I'm going to go on holiday. I need a break. And so she books an Airbnb, this one Airbnb in the town that she was like, oh, wouldn't it, that's where I would have moved. So I'm going to just go there for a holiday. And she does. And as soon as she gets there, everything's flipped. And the people in the town recognize her not because she's a famous actress, but because she lives there. When she looks in the mirror, she's her old self. If she had stayed like that and hadn't gotten plastic surgery, hadn't lost all that weight, hadn't tried to fit into the standard of Hollywood. And all the people in town know her because she's a local. And in this reality, her best friend Amy is alive and well, but wants nothing to do with her. And it's just like, it's such a great story and it's such a great premise. I love the interdimensional, alternate reality thing. I think it's one of the best ways I like to read, romancy or fiction, general fiction novels in this way. Is got that little bit of the sci-fi element, because this is a little bit romancy too. There's a little bit of spice involved. Doesn't bother me. It's the same reason I liked 7 Year Slip. I loved that. Gave that 5 stars. Because it has just got time elements to it that just give it a little bit more an oomph, a little bit of something. Maybe half of my enjoyment of this is just this weird, the version of me that got out, maybe, and the fact I was meant to move to Ireland. Anyway, this is just personal stuff. This is just me dealing with it. There's messages in this that are kind of what I need to hear and what I need to be reading, and that's a really powerful thing, and that's what I love reading. There are books just waiting on your shelf for you, or waiting out in the world for you to pick up when you're ready and when you need them most, and that's what this novel is. That's what 7 Year Slip did for me too. But I think because I leave them 6 months in between and I give it space to pick the right ones, I'm not oversaturating myself with the genre. So when I do read them, I highly rate them because I'm better at picking my kind of palate cleansers, which are these sorts of books. I could never just read a normal everyday romance. I mean, I could, but it wouldn't do it for me. I love that it's got a little bit of a science fiction element to it. You know what I mean? I think you get it. I think there's a lot to say about this novel, and also about friendship, not letting little things get in the way of your friendships, your relationships, and just tackling things head on and being honest with people. And I think that's what I'm getting from this anyway. And I'm 50 pages from the end. So I got so invested into it that I hadn't updated you. And I was like, I better do it before I get to the end, because I have no fucking idea where this is going to go. And I don't know how it's going to actually finish. I can't see how it's going to end happily. And I think that would be nice if it didn't have a nice, comfortable, tied in a bow ending, because that's not life, And if you got to live your life, the other version of you that you would have happily chosen, both of these are things she wanted, but they got split somewhere down the line, and so much of it was because of her friend. And we've had this revelation of things that Amy lied about in this reality, in the island reality, but was still true in the real life, the LA reality. But that lie cost Amy her life in LA at 18, 19, but hasn't cost the life in Ireland in current times when they're 30. And I also just love the acting stuff, the theatre. As a theatre actress, it's very relatable, and I get all the jokes and I get all the references to theatre and acting and stuff, and they're not too niche, so I think a lot of people will get them too, but it's fun. Best friend who kind of hates you at the moment, and you are desperate to find out why, because you also think you're on a ticking time bomb. You don't know, she doesn't know when this, because she's loving it now in Ireland. She doesn't want to go back to LA, and it's she doesn't know, the next time she opens her eyes could be the last time she's here, kind of thing. And so she's wanting to clear it up, and she's got a chance to make amends with Amy, and she doesn't like the sound of herself from this previous life and all this stuff. But we're getting to the crunch time now, because the play's about to go on. And that night she's got her return ticket back to LA. But it turns out, no, don't worry, I won't spoil. Don't worry. But yeah, 50 pages from the end, and I have no clue how it's all going to come together and what we're going to find out about troubled old Meg and the lives she wishes she could have lived. And that's the thing too, isn't it? We all just want to live so many different lives, and we also can. So anyway, I took a break yesterday. I didn't read. Just tired, you know what it's like. So, and that's a bit of a bummer when you're that close to the end. I'm like, I should have just finished it, and I don't know why I didn't. But here we are. So I'm going to finish it tonight. I'm watching Boiling Point, the Gordon Ramsay documentary from like 2000. So I'm going to continue a little bit of that because that's really good. Gordon Ramsay's been keeping me company. I've been watching like all his shows. And yeah, then I'll read, cook some nice steak for dinner, I think, get some protein in me, and yeah, finish off this amazing book. Final reading update for this vlog. I have finished The Other Side of Now by Paige Harbison, and I'm glad to say I loved it. It was very heartwarming and heartbreaking. It's extremely touching and is very much a self-exploration of grief and the paths we choose to take in life. Like, there's a lot that you can get from this novel. Like, I got a lot from it. I think I said in my last clip that I felt like it was written for me, or like I was meant to read it at this exact point in my life. And I just related so much to Meg as a character. Obviously without the enormous success and wealth and fame that she has got in LA, but I could have moved to Ireland to go to like music theatre school, but the world had different plans that year. And it's like, what would my life have been if I had? And I think I was saying in my last update that I was like 50 pages off the end, and I didn't know how it was gonna be like wrapped up. And I'm very happy to say that it didn't just tie everything up in a neat bow and have a cookie cutter happy ending. I really enjoyed the way this did end. It wasn't clean, tidy, it was messy, but it was also so satisfying. I loved the final little scene. I loved some of the messaging in this. I think, like I said, this is definitely like one of those novels, if you go into it with an open mind, you can really look inward at yourself, and it's very introspective and relatable, especially if you're a creative or an actor, or you've had big dreams to be a creative in your life and things maybe haven't gone as smoothly or as you planned, because I think that's a big thing as well. And that it doesn't mean you can't go do those things now. It just means they might look a little bit different, and you might look a little bit different to what you initially set out for your life to be. That's what I got from it, which is very deep, but I really enjoyed it. It's not quite a 5-star. I gave this 4.5 stars. So I feel like that's actually a really good rating. I've had good success pretty much in this vlog. Didn't rate Boy in the Striped Pajamas, but I very much enjoyed it, if that's the right word. 2 stars to Childhood's End, 5 stars to The Gathering, Brad Wife 3.75, and then 4.5 for this. So I'm very happy. And this was definitely mixed genre. It's such a mixed bag, which I'm doing more and more, but I will always come back to my spooky books. The Other Side of Now is such a palate cleanser for me, but I still have to have that kind of sci-fi element to it to keep it thrilling for me. So I will very rarely read like a straight normal romance, if you know what I mean. Like, they've got to have something a little bit different in it to keep me on my toes and keep me reading. That book was only like 330 pages, super easy to read. I really enjoyed Paige's writing style. Like I said, it just happened to be a novel that I think was meant for me at this point in my life. And I'm very touched by it. It's kind of validating to read as well. And, you know, you find yourself and you find little pieces of yourself within stories. And that's what The Other Side of Now did for me. So 4.5 stars for that one. And that's this reading vlog. I think I'll leave you alone. This has turned out to be much longer than I planned. So if you are still here right to the end, then we're best friends now, and you have to stick around for more. But I appreciate you. I'd love to know if you've read any of these books or what you've been reading this week. I would love to know. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.